everyone. Welcome to 2025 and a brand new episode of Your Broker Admin. I'm your host, Rob Cummings, and we kick off the new year with another guest in the YBA Chat Room. So here's what we have in the show for you this week. Firstly, in Humpday Helpers, I share some info on transferring ING loans between different broker codes. Then I catch up with Pat Ryan, AFG Broker and Principal of the Ryan Finance Group, in the YBA Chat Room, where he'll share a bit about his broker journey with us. Then finally, our regular reviews wrap up with outcomes from loan reviews completed during the week ended the 10th of January 2025. Thanks for joining me, and let's get started. For our first Hump Day Helper this year, just wanting to share some info around getting loans transferred from one broker code to another through ING. One of our brokers that we are working with purchased a loan book last year. We're assisting them with completion of loan reviews and client calls as a retention strategy and potential opportunity mining. Of course, we keep running into the same old issue around accessing loan details from the lenders due to the mismatch in broker codes. Lenders such as Macquarie simply refuse to allow us to complete the rate review, nor will they transfer the loans across to the new broker. ING, on the other hand, through the BDM, have been pretty helpful. We can still do the rate review, but have limited access to loan info, which is a bit of a drag. But it turns out we can get the loans transferred across to the new broker by getting aggregator approval. The tedious part is compiling a spreadsheet with all the client names and loan account numbers. Once transferred, though, we'll then be able to access the loans via the portal as normal. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first guest chat on Your Broker Admin for 2025. Here in the YBA Chat Room with me today is AFG Broker Pat Ryan, Principal of the Ryan Finance Group.
G'day, Rob. Thanks for having me on, mate. Happy New Year, and I hope you've had a great Christmas and a little break with the family.
Yes, I did. Thanks. It's really the only time of the year when I get to switch off from work, mainly because my partner has warned me otherwise.
It's our industry, I think, my friend. Very much so.
Yep, exactly. Now, just before we actually get into anything, I've just got some background on yourself that I'll just sort of tell the listeners about. So I guess I'm starting more recent times. You were state manager for Doors Plus for 3 years. And then about 2008, you had a stint with Westpac Business Bank for 12 months. 2009, for a couple of years, you were with a mortgage manager in Brisbane. And then finally, in 2010, you started up the Ryan Finance Group.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of fun, mate. A lot of fun. A lot of water under the bridge since then, that's for sure.
Absolutely. That's a fairly lengthy period as being a broker.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it is. Well, it's such a great industry and such a great career, I think. So that's probably why there is a couple. Yeah, there's certainly a lot of people that do it in this sort of period, don't they? With length.
Yeah, that's right. So, welcome, as I was saying before, welcome to Your Broker Admin. And thanks for making some time in your hectic schedule to join me here today in the chat room.
Yeah, no problem at all, mate. As you sort of intimated before, it is this time of year is, traditionally when brokers do get a little bit of time off and take our foot off the gas pedal, so to speak, because the banks, the solicitors, real estate agents normally try to take a break. We had quite a still busy period through that break, but I don't know how you and your team went. How did they go, mate?
Well, a little bit different this year. So from my observation, it seems that normal mad rush that the Christmas break has diminished somewhat. So, I mean, it was busy. It just wasn't frantic like it used to be. So I'm not sure exactly why that is. Maybe people are just better organised these days.
Possibly, mate. Possibly.
God forbid. Now, something I sort of just want to have a quick chat to you before we get into the business side of things. Now, I know you're a keen surfer and triathlete. Just wonder if you could possibly share with us anything unusual that might have happened during the course of competing in one of these events.
Yes, I think you might know the little story behind the scenes already. We're big supporters of a charity up here in Noosa called Great Dreams, and we relocated it up here as a result of doing the triathlon. I was halfway through the ride leg in the triathlon in the Noosa Tri, and saw a real estate agent that I'd had a look at a house, I think a few days earlier, and I pulled over and made an offer, and I was successful. We bought the house, so I guess it's a little bit of notoriety up here. I was able to purchase a house during the race. Didn't have my best time, but still a lot of fun though.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine why. So I'm sure everybody buys houses when they're on doing triathlons. So
no, mate. Well, I didn't do one this year. I did the try, and I stopped and sort of said hello to the real estate agent again, but I didn't want to buy another place. So
yeah, okay, one's enough. So
yeah.
cool. So let's move on to the actual reason you're here with me today, and that's to talk about your life as a broker. So I'm curious to understand, what was the actual motivation for you to become a broker?
That's a really good question, mate. It was a bit of an ongoing discussion with my wife, I guess, for some period, obviously working the finance sort of services and for the sector. I always wanted to work for myself, and all my interactions I'd had with mortgage brokers have been quite positive and by all accounts quite profitable. My wife actually was long-term one of the big four as well in the lending sort of sector. So together we sort of decided, let's have a crack, and we decided to form Ryan Finance Group, which coincided with the birth of our youngest child, which in hindsight was probably a little bit scary and at the same time exciting, as it was all systems go, work, home, and newborn, and along with his big brother at the same time.
Yeah, okay. Well, that sort of makes sense. I'm about to have your first child, and we'll start up our own business at the same time.
Yeah, not the maybe not the smartest of ideas, but it's certainly one way to get quite motivated. And that I also had a couple of referral partners who were encouraging me to jump out and have a crack on my own. So that gave me the confidence I needed to go forward.
Yeah, that would certainly be helpful.
Yeah, it was. It was great, mate. I'm still working with them to this day.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's great. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is, before you started, what was your understanding of broking before you actually got started in your own business?
Yeah, another great question. Coming from that banking background, again, I always felt restricted, I guess, with the products I could offer, because there's only there was only one or two types of products you can sort of select. And as you sort of intimated earlier, I came from that retail background, so I like to be able to try to help and find solutions for everyone. So I sort of had this belief that a mortgage broker has the ability to potentially offer the majority of clients a funding option for whatever they're choosing. And I think that's the greatest, that's the greatest way we can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yep. And were there any myths or misconceptions about broking that were either dispelled or confirmed once you got started?
Yeah, there's a few, I guess, that not a lot of people talk about, certainly back then. The commission's a big one, obviously. Sort of, you might be waiting 30 to 60 days after settlement for commissions.
Yep.
So that was a bit of a surprise in the cash flow. And the dream of working your own hours always obviously seemed quite enticing as well. But that was back before Zoom and with a young family, but I was still out there doing seeing the clients face to face, the VOI, and then coming home and building, lodging, processing each deal. And the flexible working ideas was a fair way off for us, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I see a lot of brokers talk about the good old days.
It was different. It's one of the things, I suppose, mate, that COVID has been, good and bad. We all talk about it. I mean, there's definitely some horror stories that came through to COVID, but one of them in our industry meant that we can work a little bit more remotely. And as such, I was able to relocate the majority of my business from Brisbane up here to Noosa.
Yeah.
I've still got the office in Brisbane. Still got staff in Brisbane and that, but I've been able to sort of be able to work from both, and I use a fair bit of outsourcing, which we can have a bit of a chat about later on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. If you're enjoying the podcast, then feel free to jump onto podchaser.com, search Your Broker Admin, where you can leave a review, rate the podcast, or just simply follow us so you don't miss an episode. Now, if you have any questions you'd like me to respond to here on the podcast, then you can either message me, Rob Cummings, on linkedin.com with the details, or email them through to rob@mbesaustralia.com.au. Alternatively, if you have any of your own tips that you would be willing to share on the podcast with full credit, then send them through via the same method. Now, Pat, in our last guest interview in the YBA Chat Room, I spoke with Craig Mayer from Appreci. Now, I know you're a user of Appreci in your business because you were the one that actually introduced me to Craig last year, which I must thank you for. We actually ended up using Appreci for our own team Christmas hampers last year, which were excellent, by the way. I'm just wondering if you could share with us how you're using Appreci and what are some of the outcomes it's delivered to the business.
Yeah, okay. Well, firstly, I guess I'm glad that my referral wasn't, it was a great experience for you, and that's been really positive. Same as me as well. So I actually use Appreci in a few different ways in the business. We're part of Broker Engine, so we can connect. So I've been able to connect Appreci via Zapier into Broker Engine.
Okay, yep.
Automated sort of settlement gifts, which is just a tick and click then. But there's also a web-based version for which I use for the client retention and also my referrers. It's a really simple process. I log in, I select the gift, hamper, beer or wine or whatever, really, and then put the client's email as a receiver or their phone number. They get an email or text and input the delivery address. Recipient doesn't have to sign up, and it's a very fast process.
Yep.
In terms of there's minimal output from me, but the staff also have access to it as well, and they can do it. And what I've sort of seen, talking and working with Craig, is that him and the team are very open to putting new suppliers onto the platform. So if anyone's ever using, a different type or a gift or a thank you in the processes in place, it can easily be incorporated into the Appreci program.
Yeah, he made that quite clear to me as well, that, the same thing about that if I had anyone particular one to use, that they'd look at it. So
yeah, which I think is it's a little bit unique, isn't it? So that way,
absolutely, yeah, very much so.
I've found that whole part's been awesome. So
yeah, okay, excellent. Yeah, look, I said the feedback that we've had from our team members who've received their basket has been excellent. So yeah, so it's all been good so far.
Awesome.
So also, Pat, you've been working with the team at MBS now for just on 18 months.
Yep.
So I was curious to understand how you've integrated MBS into your business and what difference has it made?
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, the MBS experience for us has been amazing. I can actually say that without any bias. I've certainly tried, and I use MBS for the client referral and reviews and the management process that after sort of, birthdays, retention, all that sort of thing. And it's been really positive. We feel obviously the client's the most important part of our business. And sometimes when we're getting lost trying to find new opportunities or working with MIRs from credit, the existing client base can potentially suffer, I guess, through a little bit of time or help.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So we saw that losing any clients has many ramifications, apart from the obvious trail loss or clawback, heaven forbid. But customers and or clients, they will always talk, whether it's good or bad.
True. And generally it's more the bad, isn't it?
Well,
unfortunately.
You want to be the good chat about that barbecue, mate, not the bad. So I have used other methods previously, and it was limited success. They'd only just do automated like pricing or rate reduction.
Mhm.
Now working with the MBS team, we can actually structure the conversations. So the customer satisfaction is excellent because we continue the goal, or I guess the client's goals that they always have when they signed up with us in the first place. So
Yeah.
it's not just about rate; it's about where we're going, what our plans are, and more often than not, once a week we're uncovering new opportunities thanks to the MBES team, because they actually come out and by all accounts they're working for me, so gives the clients straight away, they don't have any worry about discussing information or sharing anything because it's coming from Ryan Finance Group.
Yeah, I can imagine that, that is really important, that illusion, whether it be right or wrong, of that they are part of your business.
The illusion's a tough word. I think they are part. I prefer to think that they're subcontracted, mate. So I think they're great. So definitely love it. So I'm really, really happy with my the last 18 months. And the clients are as well. They send back emails. So the email comes back to us and it comes, goes from a Ryan Finance Group email.
Yeah.
And they come back and they say, oh, wow, thank you so much for the review. It's so good to hear from you. And you think, oh, yeah, this is what we're in the business for. This is why we started it. So it's great. And that just keeps those clients that you work so hard to keeps them so sticky. So it's great.
Yeah. Look, my experience in the banking and the sort of stuff, and exactly what you were saying before, you can lose sight of what you've already got, be too focused on what you potentially can get.
Yeah, which is it's totally normal. So that's why, and I guess cash flow wise, it's not something I can, at the moment, I want to have a total designated customer service person. So that's why we partner with MBS to sort of facilitate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually great. That's great feedback, and I'm actually glad to hear it's delivering some positive outcomes for you and the business and your clients, of course.
Of course.
Okay, excellent. Well, sadly, I'd actually love to chat some more with you, Pat, but we've actually run out of time today. Um, I'd really appreciate, again, you making the time and putting and joining me here today in the chat room. Very much appreciated. And for you personally, all the best for the year ahead in 2025.
Right. Thank you very much. And thanks for your support and help on the year. Couldn't have done it without you. So anytime you need a hand, mate, you give me a call.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Rob.
Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to 2025. Hoping it's going to be a great one. First week back with our loan reviews, ending the 10th of January 2025, and a solid start to the year. From the smallish number of reviews completed this week, we were still able to manage $4,600 in annual interest savings for our brokers' clients. Numbers are generally down, as there are still lots of people away at this time of the year, so it can be a bit challenging trying to make contact with them. That's actually brokers as well as clients, I might say. There are a couple of sizable outcomes making up the bulk of that figure. The first one was an expiring fixed rate through Suncorp, where the initial revert rate quoted was 6.69. We were able to get that down to 6.19%, along with the existing variable rate split, which was already priced at 6.34. So across the two loans, the total interest savings added up to $2,400. The other one was $1,100 for a NAB client on a pretty straightforward review on an investment loan where the rate was reduced from 6.69% down to 6.38. Something that I did want to share with you this week is in relation to Suncorp. It seems that they've changed their stance on giving brokers access to their GPS system, which is their online portal for gold brokers to price existing loans. I spoke about this in one of our Humpday Helpers last year sometime to say that they hadn't readily made it available or made brokers aware, and it was only available to gold brokers. We went to price a Suncorp loan for one of our brokers. Strangely enough, they haven't written a loan with Suncorp for nearly 12 months now, only to be advised they had been made a gold broker with access to the GPS system now. Broker knew nothing about it. Not that we are complaining, as it makes our life that much easier for pricing the few Suncorp loans that broker actually has. That's all for this week, and we'll catch up with you next time around. Just a quick reminder that if you'd like to provide a review on the podcast, then you can jump onto podchaser.com, search Your Broker Admin, and leave your review there, which would be greatly appreciated. Also, if you want to follow me personally, you can do so at linkedin.com. This is Rob Cummings with Your Broker Admin. Thank you for listening.